All right. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for joining me for session 2 of the Referral Ready Business Bootcamp. Today, we're going to be talking about pricing and profit, right? Because I want you to build a business that works for your life, not one that controls it. Just get my camera set up here, right? And hands down, pricing is one of the most talked about things among service providers and spa professionals, right? I'm in these groups and I see, how much should I be charging? How much should I charge for this event? Am I too cheap, right? What should my prices be? I was thinking about raising my rates by $5. Is that too much? Right? And these questions are constantly asked, and the only answers that people get are know your worth, right? Well, today, that answer and most of the answers that are out there leave people confused, right? Today, we're going to get rid of all that confusion around pricing. Ideally, by the end of this training, you will have the tools and information to understand your real cost of living, which you should have done that homework so that you have a decent understanding of that, and running your business, right? We want to create a sustainable and profitable pricing structure. I want you to be able to stop undercharging and actually price your services with confidence, right? And you're going to learn a pricing strategy to shape the client behavior that you want in your business. A lot of people don't know that your pricing really affects your client behavior, right? So I will show you, and I will show you how I have my prices set up so that things effortlessly flow into people buying my packages or memberships. Raise your hands. Does everybody have packages or memberships? Jordan, do you actually have packages and memberships, or is that something we need to set up? I can't hear you. Just yes or no? No, go ahead, unmute.
Yes.
You do have packages and memberships? What do you have? Membership or
Um,
packages or both?
I have packages.
All right, perfect. You're good. Go ahead and mute again. So, pricing your services right and being profitable is crucial for the success of your business, right? And I think rightfully so that this is one of the most talked about questions, right? Anytime I'm coaching with someone, pricing is one of the first things that we nail down, because if this step is not done correctly, it'll be very difficult to set everything else up, right? Pricing affects who you can target, how you market, and the feelings you have about yourself and your business, right? And it is a key foundational step in building your business. And I believe it's not given enough thought or enough attention, right? Or the amount of attention that it deserves. But what is profit? Profit is the money left over after paying for everything else needed to run your business, like rent, wages, supplies, all of it. Most pricing calculations leave business owners hoping that they have profit left over. In this training, we're going to add profit into the equation up front. So there's a lot of benefits of being profitable. In this section, we're going to go over a lot of mindset that people have around profit and money, because this is a big issue for people. Money mindset is a big issue for people. They don't even know that they are pushing money away, pushing clients away, and subconsciously sabotaging their success because of their views around money. So the first thing, the right price and making a profit is crucial for your life and business success, right? Profit equals the quality of your life, right? I want you to think about what becomes possible for your life and business at a sustainable and profitable price point, right? If your prices do not accurately reflect your needs, you're working hard for nothing, right? Undervaluing your work leads to burnout, stress, and resentment, and chronic struggle. Pricing right means your business actually supports your life. I need you to understand that profit equals security, right? What would it feel like to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank, right? How would more profit affect your stress, sleep, and the time with your family, right? Profit, it funds your time off, emergency cushions, and your actual future. Right? Without profit, you will always be in survival mode and you will never feel secure. It gives you the ability to handle life's unexpected problems. Most people are $1,000 emergency away from being in a really bad spot financially, right? And I want you to have some sense of security in your life. And it all starts with making more money than you need and knowing that you have the ability to make money no matter what happens, right? Because it's not actually the money that gives you the security. It's your confidence and your ability to go make it if things go bad. That'll give you more security than the money. Profit equals freedom. What would you be able to do more of or less of if money wasn't an issue? Right? What would it look like to run your business from a place of overflow instead of survival? Right? If your business paid you well consistently, how would your life change? Right? What passions or dreams have you had to put off or put on hold because business doesn't bring you in enough? Any of the questions I asked, feel free to comment. If you feel like commenting, post them in the comments. Post your answers in the comments. Let's get engaged through the process. Right? When you're priced properly and you have profit in the equation, you don't have to overbook yourself just to cover bills. You can say no to draining clients. You have the freedom to take time off without worrying or panicking about lost income, and you can build a business that serves your life and not the other way around, right? Because freedom isn't just about more time. It's about choice, right? The right pricing and having profit buys you that choice. Right? Most people don't have freedom. Right? Most people say things like, I just need enough to cover my bills and I'll be okay. Right? I used to say things like that. It's because I had a gross misunderstanding and a miscalculation of life. You see, no matter what level of income, you are sacrificing something. You're not buying something that you wish you had. There's always more to have. So, yes, profit can give you feelings of freedom because you have more choices. But I want you to be wary of the trap of always wanting more. Right? If you really want freedom, you need to learn to practice contentment. You need to learn to feel the abundance of your life no matter how much money you're making. Right? Real wealth isn't just about money, in my opinion. Real wealth to me is about the richness of life, right? Of your spirit, of purpose, the richness of relationships with people, the richness of serving and helping others. I love the quote, contentment is quiet strength. It's the peace of being settled into who you are and what you have without the need to constantly chase or compare. Right? It doesn't mean you stop growing or dreaming. It means your worth isn't riding on the next thing. Your worth isn't riding on what others think of you. You can rest in the moment knowing it's enough, knowing that all of your needs are met. Profit is necessary, but I want both for you. I want you to have richness in money, and I want you to have richness in relationship. That's where real feelings of freedom come from. Profit equals better service, right? You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you shouldn't try to. Right? Being affordable to everyone isn't noble if it leads to struggle, resentment, and bankruptcy. Right? Maybe your prices will be affordable to everyone, but after this training, you will know that without a doubt that you are charging what you need to survive and thrive. What I love about working with service providers, especially spa and service like massage therapists, is that most of us start from a place of care and not profit. And that's beautiful, right? But you can't serve people really well if you're exhausted, underpaid, and stressed out about your business and money all the time. Profit is not the enemy of care. It is what allows you to keep on caring and serving people. Right? What kind of care would you give your clients if you weren't running on fumes? What causes, people, or missions would you love to support if you had the margin? If you were thriving financially, what kind of legacy or community impact could you create? How would your client experience change if you had the margin to upgrade it? How will your clients benefit when you show up energized, focused, and financially supported? Right? Having your prices set correctly allows you to serve people better. You won't be so burned out, so you'll be more present. You'll have room to invest back into the client experience and improve it. Right? When I up my prices, it allowed me to create a space that I love being in and that my clients love being in. That doesn't happen. I was able to upgrade the front entrance. Right? That doesn't happen without having more money than I need. Right? You can include more things in your service at no additional cost when you're priced right. You can afford better education. Do you think your clients get served better when you have better knowledge and better hands-on experience? Absolutely. Right? You can be more generous with your time when it matters. Right? You want to spend a little extra time with a client who just lost a loved one? You can. You want to reward your best customers for their loyalty with extra time or a free session? You can. You want to help someone even though they can't afford your services because you feel called to? You can do that because you're making more than you need. Profit isn't greedy. It is necessary for your peace and for your sanity. I want you to really check in and think about, where did your beliefs about money and profit come from? Do you think profit and money are bad or evil? Do you say things like money is the root of all evil? Right? What stories have you heard about people who make a lot of money? Typically not very good, right? But profit isn't greed. It's your ability it's ability for your business to pay you back, to grow, to survive hardship, and help others if you want. Greed is when you start putting money above everything else, above God, above doing what's right for your customers. It's a constant craving for more, even at the expense of ethics, at the expense of relationships, or even your own well-being. Right? It's different from ambition or the desire for success, right? Because greed tends to ignore balance and sufficiency. And greed might show up, right? You might notice it because you might be overpricing without the actual value, right? You might have a mindset of extracting every dollar out of somebody rather than service. Greed could show up like that. It might be upselling just to increase revenue, or encouraging upgrades and add-ons or repeat visits only for revenue goals rather than because the client needs it or wants it. It might look like hoarding clients or refusing collaboration, right? This hoarding mindset and fear of losing clients can lead to you not giving clients necessary referrals or actually offering what's best for them. That is a huge problem in sales, and it's why people don't like salespeople, right? It might look like ignoring ethics for more profit, or making unrealistic promises, cutting corners on quality to reduce cost. Right? Profit is great and it's necessary in business, but when it comes with impact and trust, it's sustainable and people are happy for you to make a profit when the value they receive in return is proportional. So we want to price our services based on a balance of value delivered, experience delivered, business sustainability, client results, and personal income needed. And we're going to go over exactly how to do that today. First, I want you to check your beliefs about money, right? Because sometimes we don't even realize how much we hate on money and success. It's because, right, and I'm included, but it's because I had a subconscious negative view on money and profit. And you probably do too. And it's not even your fault though. Right? In every single movie you watch, the villain is a rich business person. Like, I was even watching the Ninja Turtles when they came out with the live action Ninja Turtles. Who's the villain in Ninja Turtles? It's Shredder, right? You think. It is in the cartoon at least. But in the live action one, the real villain is the business person that is backing Shredder. Right? He's the one funding Shredder to do all these bad things. I'm like, man, not Ninja Turtles too, bruh. Right? So all over your news feeds and social media, you hear about the elite and the negative things that they're doing. You hear how rich people hate you and want you to stay broke. But the truth is, money and success are not evil. And most confuse this verse in the Bible. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Money is amoral. It takes on the shape of the person that possesses it. Right? If you're a good person and you get money, you'll be able to do more good. It amplifies who you are. Right? If you're a bad person and you get money, then you could do bad on a larger scale. It amplifies who you are. It isn't the money, it isn't the profit that is the problem. It is the one who possesses the money that is the problem. So there are rich people that do a lot of good, and there are some that are really bad. There are poor people that do a lot of good, and there are some that are really bad. So take a look at what you believe about success and money and some of these unconscious biases that you might have. Because if you feel this way about success, do you think you will attract more money and success? No. You will sabotage it every step of the way. Going back to beliefs, if you believe having money is wrong or evil, you will act in a way that no matter how much money you make, you will always struggle. So check those beliefs. All right. Next thing I want to go over is that pricing influences client behavior. Right. So what you need to think about, what actions do I want my clients to take? What services do I want them to buy? What memberships or packages do I want them on? Right? Because how you set your prices determines the actions that you want your clients to take. It determines whether you book more 1 hour sessions or more 2 hour sessions. It determines which packages they buy and which memberships they sign up for. It determines how easy it is to sell those packages and memberships. Additionally, it determines who you attract, right? Who might you attract when your price reflects the real value that you provide? Right? If you set your prices too low, you might attract people who don't value themselves enough to do this regularly. You set them right, and you might attract people who value themselves, who value how they feel, and value your time and boundaries. Your pricing is a reflection of your beliefs. So I want you to think about what fears come up for you when you think about charging more. What do you believe will happen if you raise your rates? Or what are you making it mean about you if someone says it's too expensive? I run into this regularly. It's too expensive. And you could take that personally if you want to, or you can understand that this person just says it's too expensive for them. They can't figure out how to justify your prices. But are your prices aligned with the quality and depth of the work that you do? Or with the energy, effort, and care that you actually put into your work? Because what you charge does say something about what you believe you're worth. Right? Undercharging often comes from fear, scarcity, or comparison, where the right price is rooted in confidence, clarity, and purpose. See, most people charge to the level of confidence, right? The more your confidence goes up, the more you know that you deliver on your promises, the more you know that you serve people at a high level, the higher price you'll be able to command confidently. So confidence is a big factor that goes into pricing your services. But it's not the only way to determine what we need to charge. It is part of the equation, but most people, when it comes to pricing, this is the whole part. This is where the know your worth, or what do you feel like your worth, comes into. Dang, spilled my coffee on me. So it is part of the equation. Most people make it the whole part, right? Some other factors are confidence, right? Confidence is a factor. Your confidence is your confidence in what type of results you can achieve is a factor. Your education is a factor, right? The environment inside of your space is a factor. The area or side of town that you're located on is a factor. Your level of service is a factor. The confidence in your voice and how you speak will be a factor in what you can command. Your ability to sell and communicate is a factor. Your competitors' pricing can be a factor. Who your target market is a factor. The amenities you offer and the things you include in your service can affect pricing. Right? The problem is that none of these factors provide a good formula for charging the right amount, and this kind of talk without a plan leaves people struggling financially. Right? Because your individual needs are different than the next person. Right? Bonnie, your needs are different than Jordan's. So would it make sense for you guys to charge the same amount? Probably not. Right? You might be able to thrive off of $60 per hour. Well, I would be shut down if I charge that. So yes, all of those things play a factor, but only after we take the right steps in knowing what we actually need, which was your homework. Yeah. Right? Then we can take a look at others' prices. Then we can see how we feel in our feelings of worth. Then we can factor in our education. We can make adjustments from there. Right? There's a lot of fear around pricing. Does that make sense? What I've gone over so far? Are we already up leveling our mindset around money? We demonizing money? Hopefully not anymore. Let me check this chat real quick. Yeah, we might have fear that we'll lose clients. Maybe. Some people. Right? But is it possible that your best fit clients are actually want to pay more for better service and better results? Right? You might be afraid that people will stop booking. You're afraid you're not worth your new price. What if charging more allowed you to serve better? What if you're undercharging and that's actually blocking the right people from working with you? Here's the reality. No matter what the price point is, you are excluding people from your services. Right? Earlier I said if you price too low, you are going to exclude people who would pay more. Because if the price or the service is too cheap, it makes these people think you won't deliver results or that it won't be good enough. Right? Because to them and most people, again, pricing is a reflection a lot of times of your confidence and your ability to get people results. As your confidence goes up, your pricing will come up to match it. So when I see people charging $60 an hour, automatically I think they're not actually that confident in their ability. I want to go back to that comment and say, I believe that happened to me recently. I want to go back to that in a little while. Remember that after we go over this, okay? Right? But when you price higher, you will exclude people with lower incomes who can't justify your rate. Not can't afford it, can't justify it. Or you'll exclude people who don't really value themselves in what you do. Now, I say can't justify it versus can't afford it because the truth is, if they need it bad enough, it will be a priority for them. You see, when people have lower incomes, their priorities are their current needs most of the time, not these things that they view as extra services until their pain gets so bad that they have to make it a priority. And then all of a sudden, they'll be able to afford it. Right? So it's not can't afford it most of the time. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's just what do they prioritize? Right? I have someone coming to me weekly right now who can't work, is on disability and a fixed income. She's buying packages and she's coming weekly. Right? People always afford the things that they make a priority. Right? On the flip, I've had people tell me they can't afford to come to me for massages, and then I see them coming in and getting their nails done because that's what they prioritize. Or people tell me they can't afford to pay me rent, but I just saw that they got the newest iPhone or just went on a vacation because that's what they're prioritizing. They're not prioritizing rent. Right? Most of the time when someone says they can't afford it, it's about what they believe is important and not the price. It's about what they're prioritizing with their money and not that they don't have any. But this isn't about me and my worth. It's about them and what they value. It could be about me and my ability to add value or show them that this is valuable and make it a priority in their mind, right? Which we'll go over in a later training. All right, Bonnie, let me have you jump on real quick before we go to the next section. And I want to hear about that, what happened to you recently.
Okay. So I had a mobile service set up with a couple. It was going to be a double service, and I was still in my prior prices that I had before I got my cupping certification. And I think because I even added the deal because at that time I was operating from a place of desperation because I was trying to make something or trying to gather clients from the Level Up barbershop.
Right.
And because I think as soon as I gave the prices and the deal, that's when they stopped responding. Before that, they were interested. Before that, they were like trying to figure out a date and everything. But like once I gave my prices, it could have been just me, like just feeling personally like, dang, like did I give off that I'm lowballing myself because like I don't have enough confidence in myself. I know that they know the value of my massage because I gave both of them services, and
Mm-hmm.
they seemingly they seem to love it, but like once I offered those prices, that's when the communication ended. So I automatically assumed that because I basically lowballed myself, it it took the interest out of the situation for them.
And that's possible.
Mhm.
That's possible. But this is also one thing that we do as service providers. Did you ever follow up with them?
Mhm.
Did they ever respond again?
It's more like a well, the wife never responded again, but when I spoke to the husband again when I went back to the shop, he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll get back to you soon."
Hmm.
Like, yeah, soon, soon.
So I do, and that's possible, but I do want you to just be a little bit conscious of managing the stories that you tell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything, while that's possible, all of that is just a story. We don't even know that that's true.
Right.
But these stories that we tell ourselves can stop us from acting, right? Well, maybe I lowball myself and that's why they don't want to come back. Even if that's the case, you can still follow up with them and try to get them booked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they haven't given you a reason. They haven't even said, hey, we're not going to do it anymore. But then we
Right.
start telling ourselves all these stories about why they might not want to and why they don't want to. And then that stops us from following up with people and communicating with them. You haven't gotten any confirmation that they don't. No response is not no. Not to
Right.
me. Not to me. You got to tell me.
Yeah.
You got to tell me no.
Yeah.
Because the only story I tell myself is that you saw it and you forgot about it.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Oh,
That's
you
something.
must have forgot. You must have forgot about yourself. Let me follow up and make sure that you don't forget about yourself.
And
Oh,
that's
you
true
probably saw
too,
it and then you got busy.
because with you having me send out these messages about like different deals and opportunities for clients, sometimes when they respond, like Miss Patty, who just recently came in, she was like, "Thank you for sending this out because sometimes I forget to take care of myself."
Mm-hmm.
So that let me know. And even with going back through messages of my own, seeing like, oh, dang, I didn't respond to that. Dang, so
No,
it
I
is
forget about stuff
possible.
all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that might be the only story that I tell myself around people not responding to me
Mm-hmm.
or um, people saying, yeah, we'll get back to you soon. Well, shoot, they said they get back to me. And if I don't hear from you, I'll check in with you in a couple of weeks.
Right.
All right? Go ahead and mute yourself. All right, next section. Section 2. So we went over mindset, a lot of mindset around pricing, a lot of fear, a lot of things that profit is good for, and why it's necessary for your business. But why do most people struggle with pricing and creating long-term success in their business, right? Because here's the thing. It will never matter how much money you make if you don't fix these 3 things. Number 1 is learning how to budget. Right? This is why I had you write out your expenses, because I know 99% of people don't know what their expenses are, and they don't really have a good grasp of what they're spending every month, at least recurring, let alone the extra things they're spending money on what that they didn't plan for. Right? I've only had one person that I've worked with, that I've coached with, who actually knew what their expenses are for their home and for their business. Right? So people don't actually know what they need to make to live. They're just out here winging it, hoping, praying. Right? This includes their now added business costs when they open their own thing. Right? When I hire people, I require them to submit a budget so that they know how much they actually need to make, and so that I can make sure that I can reasonably hit that number and more. Because I know most people, what I don't want is somebody coming in for a job and they're desperate for money, and they're like, yeah, I'll take anything. And then 3 months in, they're like, dude, this isn't enough money. I'm like, well, dude, I told you what the pay was up front. What do you mean it's not enough money? You said it was great. You were super pumped about it. Right. So this is why I have everybody submit a budget. Because I have one lady, uh, I'm like, so what do you need to make? Like, realistically, what do you need to make a month just to survive? Like, just to be able to handle all your stuff. And she's like, I need to make $4,000 a month. I'm like, okay. I have somebody making $4,000 a month, but it took him a year to get there. She's like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I need it right away. I said, no problem. I don't think I'll realistically be able to hit that number for you. So I don't think it's a good fit. And we parted ways, no problem. What I can't have is her coming into the business, me spending all this time and money training her, and then she's pissed at me because she ain't making enough. Right? So we need to learn how to budget. We need to know what our expenses are. Number 2, we need to keep track of our money and how we spend it. Right? I was hired by a therapist that was really struggling in her business. right? She was stressed about money all the time. She thought she was making like $3,000 to maybe $4,000 a month. After meeting with her and going over how many clients she was working on and what average price points, I said, there's no way you're making this little money, right? So later, after we met and did that training, she went through her account and realized she brought in $12,000 that month. It wasn't her income that was the problem. It was her spending habits and the fact that she had no idea where her money was going. Right? Many people I've worked with literally go from struggling to success overnight because their main problem is spending, not income. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. There are tons of sales trainers out there. I don't care what they say. You will never, ever out earn bad spending habits. This is partially what happens when you have a negative money mindset. That's part of the self-sabotage, is saying yes to things when you should be saying no. Until my wife and I got this under control and had a lot more communication, we're making good money, but we're still struggling and feeling stress around money all the time because we're saying yes to everything because we can afford it. But then we get to the end of the month and we're like, where the frick did all our money go? Why are we so stressed about money? Because we weren't keeping track and managing our expenses properly. Right? And the third thing is you must count the true cost of doing business and doing life. Even if you have a budget for the business, it's most likely missing things. Right? We don't properly factor in problems and future expenses into the pricing. Even if you're a mobile therapist, most mobile therapists don't even have gas regularly a part of their prices, let alone oil changes, car repairs and maintenance, new tires. This all needs to be factored in. These are expected but not regular expenses, right? And I actually can't think of any expense that shouldn't be expected. Doctor visits, broken bones, car repairs, house repairs, sick time, pipes bursting, trees falling on your car, wind blowing out your windows, losing your job, clients canceling. The list goes on. All of those things happen, right? This is why we need an emergency fund. But that can only happen if you're making more than you need. If you are at a break even, you will without a doubt encounter a problem that will make you go into debt or cause financial hardship. Most people do their budget on a break even, like I talked about earlier. Now, that's not me being negative, because I am super positive that problems will happen. It's one of the guarantees of life. Right? But almost no one factors this into their pricing and therefore chronically struggle in their business and always feel behind and never get out of the hustle mindset and into freedom. Who's ready to actually figure out what your freedom number is? Let's go. All right. You did some of this homework, right? First, we need to figure out what your personal life number is. Right? You can't know what to charge until you know what you need. Right? So you had some homework to do, should be done. No worries if it isn't, do it later. Right? You start by calculating your monthly personal expenses. This is what your business needs to provide for your life. Okay? This includes rent, mortgage, groceries, utilities, health insurance, debt payments, car payments, subscription services, kids' expenses like sports, pet care, car gas. And going back, the expected but not regular expenses, car repairs, new tires, doctor visits, birthdays for your family and for other birthday parties that you go to, so you don't show up empty-handed. Christmas happens every year, same time, and we always are surprised that it's there. right? Don't lowball yourself or forget anything. This is real life, right? This is your actual monthly personal expenses. So you're going to total all of that up for your monthly. If you have yearly expenses, break it down to monthly expenses and total and add that to the monthly total. If you have something that costs you $120 a year, one time a year, then it's $10 a month. Put that in your monthly budget. Okay? In my example, this isn't my actual numbers, but in my example, I'm going to use $2,900 is what I need to live my life. Okay? Your number might be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, whatever it is. Write it down. Comment when you're done. All right, I'm going to move on. The second number you need to get is your business expenses, right? Your business has bills too, and they add up faster than you think, right? Again, this might be your rent, software, web hosting, your booking software, supplies, lotion, laundry, credit card fees, bank fees, licensing every year, continuing education every year, your marketing, the cost to go networking, your email software, your phone, marketing tools like Canva, right? You could also, if you want to, you could also factor in unpaid admin time, right? As business owners, as solo providers, we work on our business and we don't get paid for that. So you could add a couple of bucks, $5 an hour, several hours a week into the equation if you want, because you're not getting paid to send emails or set up bookkeeping, but they still take hours. You don't have to, but you can. I typically don't. Right? So you'll list your total monthly and annual business costs. Convert any annual costs into monthly equivalents. In my example, I'm going to do $2,400 for my business expenses. Okay. And then this one, I love talking about because this future proofs our finances. Right? Because if you don't plan for it, it won't happen. Your future needs a line item. These are the inevitable expenses that make or break your ability to rest, grow, and stay resilient. Number one are retirement contributions. This is where I'm going to need you to get active. Write down retirement. The next one is emergency fund savings. Write down emergency fund. Next one is vacation savings. Write down vacation savings. And the next one is fun and discretionary spending. Right? You're going to go out. You're going to go shopping just because you want to. You need to have money for this. Otherwise, you're going to go into debt for it because you are going to do it. All of these things that I just mentioned are going to happen. You're going to pay for these things one way or another. Just depends on if you're going to be in debt for it or you're going to be prepared for it. Okay? How much money do you want to put away for retirement? I'm going to tell you, if you do a Roth IRA, I think this year, it goes up a little every year. I think this year it's like $7,000 a year that you can contribute to a Roth IRA. $7,000 a year, let me do the math, is $583 per month. Will get you to $7,000 a year. That'll add up to hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars at the end of in retirement, depending on when you start. Whatever it is, it's better than zero if you start now. So I would do anywhere from 300 to start to 600 max. or the 583 max per month. In my example, I'm going to do 500, right? Emergency fund savings. I recommend 300 to 500 a month for emergencies. In my example, I'm going to do 500. Vacation savings. Yes, you deserve time off, right? Is it going to be one big trip a year with a couple of small ones? Is it a small trip to the beach? Is it Disney? Listen, if you want to go to Disney, you're going to need to get a second job for that. Yeah. You're going to need 2 incomes for that one. Because Disney's crazy, right? Right? You can stretch this number. You can stretch your vacation number. You could stretch it a little bit if you want. But I would recommend being pretty realistic here because we can get carried away with how many vacations we want to do. Because my real number for vacations is crazy and kind of unrealistic for a massage income or a service provider income. Right? In my example, I'm going to do $1,000 a month for vacation savings. Right? And then fun and discretionary spending, you're going to go out, right? You're going to go shopping. How much money weekly or monthly do you want to be able to just blow on whatever you want? Right? Maybe you don't spend it weekly. Maybe you save it and build it up and put it towards something else. Right? For my fun money, it's going to be $800 a month. That's approximately $150 to $200 a week in discretionary spending. I can go out to eat. I can go to the gas station and buy a drink. I can go buy myself some clothes if I want. I can take my kids to the movies, right? I can do some fun things throughout the week and I can spend a little money on myself and enjoy life, right? These are the non-negotiables if you want a long, happy career and a great life. Okay, now total those 4 numbers up. Total those up. Retirement, emergency, vacation, and fun money. In the examples that I gave, my total is $2,800. Right? Because the last thing I want for you is for you to go through your career and not have had any fun along the way. Or for you to get to retirement age and realize you can't quit working full time. No one wants to be 65 with no savings and no energy left. For the sake of time, I'm just going to continue. But Bonnie, maybe give me a head nod when you have that number totaled. All right. The next thing we need to calculate is taxes. Most people leave taxes for an afterthought. We're going to add them into the equation now. Okay? So we need to estimate your self-employment taxes if you're self-employed at the moment. But regardless, you're going to be at one point, right? So you're going to estimate your self-employment taxes. Mainly, I do this number that off of what I'm paying myself because I'm on payroll. But for sole proprietors, it might need to be a little bit different, right? Just to make things easy, I would recommend just doing the 20% on the total amount. So we're going to add up the 3 numbers. You're going to add up your personal number, your business number, and your future expenses, right? It was $2,400 for me. It was $2,900 for me, and it was $2,800. $2,400, $2,900, $2,800. That for me is $8,100 a month that I need to make. We're not going to judge this number. We're not going to do anything with that number. Just write that number down, whatever it is for you. Mine is $8,100. Okay. You're going to need to eventually talk to a tax person because I am not going to pretend that this is something I am super knowledgeable about and what your taxes are going to be. It depends on how much income you have and what bracket you're in. right? Because 0 to 11,000 might be at 10%, right? So that 11,000 will get taxed 10%. 11,001 to 20,000 will get taxed at 15%. This isn't super accurate, but I'm just giving you an idea. So that next 10 grand will be taxed at 15%. So it's the number varies, but just for simplicity and to give yourself some space between life and taxes, because you will owe something, I would just do 20%. Okay, so 8,100 times 0.2. For me, that's an additional $1,620 that needs to be included in my prices. Are you with me? In the comments, let me make sure you guys are still with me because I don't want to leave you too far behind. All right, perfect. Do we have these numbers? Do you have the numbers? Yes. Okay. You don't have to comment them. I'm not going to make you put yourself on blast. I just want to make sure you have them. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So in my example, my new total that I actually need is $9,720 a month. Okay. This is real life, right? This includes all of my personal expenses. This includes all of my business expenses. This includes my fund money, retirement, right? My fund money, retirement, emergency fund, vacation money, spending money. Like life is good at this number. Would you agree? This is a pretty decent life for me. Right? So my number is 9,720. That is what I need to make per month. Not just to live, but to thrive. Right? Now let's calculate the rate that we need to charge. Okay? So in my example, my total monthly need is 9,720. I'm going to take that 9,720. You're going to take whatever your total number is, and we're going to divide that by 12. We're going to times that by 12 to see what we need for the year. Go ahead and do that. My number is 116,640. That's what I need to make per year to cover all my personal, my business, my taxes, and my life, my fund money, retirement, vacation, and my emergency fund. If I can hit that number. Okay? Now, you might not be making this number that you're coming up with. That's okay. Right? That's okay. This is a goal to go after. Okay? So don't stress if this number is not actually where you're at right now. This is what we need to make to have this life. Does that make sense? So I don't want you to be discouraged by this number. This number should motivate you. This is what I want. This is what I'm going after. Right? Maybe this number is lower than what you're making now. This is not the case for most people because we haven't actually factored these things in. Right? So 116,640 is what I need. Okay, now I'm going to divide that number, 116,000. I'm going to 640. I'm going to divide that by 48. Why am I doing that? Because I only want to work 48 weeks a year, not 52. The chances that you're actually going to work 52 weeks, slim to none. You're going to go on vacation. You might get sick. You're going to have time off. So it doesn't make any sense for you to run unrealistic numbers on 52 weeks. Nobody works 52 weeks a year. And if you do, wouldn't it just be nice to have 4 weeks off a year? Every 3 months, you get to take a week off and just chill. I think that's a pretty nice life. right? So I divide my number by 48. That equals $2,430 per week that I need to make. Now I have a weekly goal. $2,430 per week. Comment below that you have that number. Do you have your weekly number? Bonnie, you can give me a head nod. Do you have your number? All right, cool. Jordan, you got your number? All right, perfect. Okay, so then how many days a week do I want to work? For me, max, I want to work 4. Even if I work more, I want to do my numbers off of 4 days. Ideally, okay? So I'm going to divide my $2,430 by 4 days per week, and that gives me my daily goal. I need to make $607.50 per day. Okay? So if I make $607 4 days a week, 48 weeks a year, then I can cover everything that we just went over. Taxes, retirement, fund money, emergency fund, vacation, all personal expenses, all business expenses. Life is great. Okay? So now I have my daily target. Because this number is pretty high, right? Because if I did, I only want to work, because then we divide this next number by 4, by how many hours per day you want to work. In my ideal world, I only work 4 hours a day. So I typically run my numbers off of 4 hours a day, because if I work more, because I really work 6 to 8 hours a day, but if I'm good off of 4 hours a day and I work 8, I got a lot of gap in my income. Not only are all my personal business expenses, vacation fund money, emergency fund, and retirement fund, taxes, not only is all of that taken care of, I have way more gap than I need. So if I can, I like doing it off of 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. In this scenario, I'm actually going to do 5 because the number's a little more realistic. And I can do 5 hours a day. I can still work 6, 7, 8 hours a day and still have decent gap in my income. So 400. So instead of 4 days, actually, let me go back. I'm going to do 2,430. I'm going to do 5 days per week in this equation, which takes my number that I need daily down to 486 from 608. Right? 486 feels a little bit more doable for me. So you can play with that number a little bit. Play with 4 days, play with 5 days. I would keep it to 5 days max, because you don't want to be working 6 days a week and have to do that to live your life. Right? If you find yourself needing to work 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, then we might need to manage our expenses differently. Maybe we're taking on too much that we shouldn't be spending money on. Right? Maybe we need to change our situation. We're probably living way outside of our means if that's the case. Do you see how this works? Okay, so $486 per day for me. I'm going to do 5 hours per day. You can do 4. You can do 5 if you want to. I would play around with both and see what you like. Okay, so 486 for me divided by 5 hours a day. I need to make an average of $98 per hour. This is not my advertised rate. This is my floor. 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, 48 weeks a year at $98 per hour average, and I can have a pretty amazing life. Again, I like to do this equation off of 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day max, because I just think that that's a really ideal to only have to work 3 to 4 hands-on sessions a day and be able to have a great life. Additionally, if you do more than 5 hours a day, which again, I do 6 to 8 hours a day, then I get to have an even better life. My bills are covered, my business and personal, my taxes, vacation fund money, emergency fund, retirement. This is our minimum sustainable rate. Ideally, we don't go under this rate. There are exceptions to that, which we'll talk about in marketing in the marketing class. But ideally, we don't go under this rate. So we can keep our prices here and then create packages and memberships off of this rate. Right? Because now, does everybody have their minimum hourly rate? If you have it and you're okay with it, would you mind commenting that? What do you need to make? If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But I would love to know, and you can text me this if you feel more comfortable with that. I would love to know what you, after running this equation, what number do you need to make per hour? And how many hours a day do you need to do that? Right. So this is our goal. If you're not comfortable, just type in the comments "not comfortable" so I know I can move on. Because my real number, 125 an hour, 4 days per week. Perfect. My real number is 110 per hour, 5 hours a day. That's what I need to make to cover all of my expenses, to cover everything we just went over. All right, Bonnie, yours is 112, 5 days per week, 4 hours a day. Okay, 112. Okay, so now that we have that number, now we can factor in feelings. How do you feel about that number? Does that seem way too high and you can't wrap your mind around it? Because we have to go higher than this for packages and memberships. We're not going to start our pricing here. This is where our prices are going to end up after discounts and packages and memberships. We have to stay above this number, right? My number is 110, right? Again, right? Because hold on one second. So we have to go higher than this, right? Your regular rate is a ceiling, right? Your regular rate needs to be $30 to $50 more above what your minimum rate is. Right? We just figured out what our base rate is. This is our minimum rate. Your regular rate needs to be more. It needs to be $30 to $50 above what your minimum rate is. Because this gives you the room you need for packages, for memberships, and to run promotions, first visit deals without losing and feeling like you're being taken advantage of. And even your best price for your memberships and packages should not go below this base rate. Right? So if you can't wrap your mind around this number, either we need to manage our expenses better. Maybe we need to adjust the retirement, vacation, emergency fund, and fund money numbers. Get rid of some expenses that aren't necessary because we're overspending on things we don't really need. Or we need to up level our mindset and our confidence in ourselves and our services and the value that we provide. I don't have any judgment about which one you need to do or which one you choose to do. If you're way off on mindset, if you don't think you can charge 125 and then you're going to need to go to 1 140, 145 at least for an hour. And then you can come down from there, 150 for an hour, and then come down from there. If you can't even come close to wrapping your mind around that, then we either need to work on mindset and the level of service that you provide, or we need to manage those expenses better and get rid of some things or lower the retirement number or the fund money number. Okay? I don't have any judgment, and I'm not going to do that with you on this class today. That's something we could do in private, or you could do on your own. Okay? So again, my base rate is in my example, my base rate is $98 per hour. That would mean I need to make my regular price $140 for an hour. I'm going to go up $40, $42 technically, right? My package and membership price might be $120, right? I might say, oh, my regular rate's $140, but if you sign up to be a member and you just do one monthly massage a month on auto pay, you can do $120. And then all my sessions are at that $120, or maybe I do a member rate of $110. But I'm still $12, even at $110, I'm still $12 above what I need in my example. Does that make sense? Okay. So I don't expect you to have this figured out right now. This takes a little bit more thinking, but I wanted to present that to you to show you what your real number is. Now we have a real financial goal. Again, most of us probably aren't making the numbers that we just came up with. You don't have to do anything at the moment, because if you really sit down, this is not something that urgently needs to be done right now. Because if you really sit down right now in this moment, your needs are taken care of. Whatever you're at, you might need to make more, but you are making it right now in some capacity. So that doesn't need to be stress around this. There doesn't need to be any type of feelings or negative feelings around doing this. This is a number that you strive for. Okay? Now, I can typically, because once we get these numbers down, then we can figure out, what do we want our clients to do? Earlier, I told you that your price determines your client's behavior. Okay? I can typically tell what sessions your clients are going to pick most by what your prices are. Right? When you price your sessions, the way you price your sessions determines what people choose more of. Right? Now, a coach there's a business coach that I absolutely love. Right? She says she would never charge. She said, why would you ever charge $100 for an hour and $120 for 90 minutes? Right? Because she believes there should be an even gap. Right? If you charge $100 for an hour, that means your half hour price is $50. So every half hour jump you do, it should go up 50, right? 100. The next half hour is 50, so 150. You add another half hour, that's 50, so 200 for 2 hours. 100 for an hour, 150 for 90 minutes, 200 for 2 hours. An even jump between. I used to think that as well until I learned about pricing strategy. Right? How you price your service shapes what clients choose. Right? Do you like longer sessions? Or do you like shorter sessions? If you want longer sessions, then you need to move your 60-minute price closer to your 90 or 120-minute price. If you want shorter sessions, you need to move the 90-minute further away from the hour price. The best analogy I think for this is when you go to the movies and you buy popcorn. Right? Where you price your sessions determines what people choose more. Right? So if you go to the movies and they price their popcorn, they have a small popcorn for $4, a medium popcorn for $6, and a large popcorn for $8. Which one are you going to choose most likely? Right? you're probably going to be more inclined to do the small or the medium, because the large is so far away from the small, right? Is the value actually there? I don't know. Now, let's say the movie theater wants you to buy they're good. Their price is good at $8 for a large. They want you to buy the large. They don't want you to buy the small or the medium. They want the $8. So what they're going to do is they're going to keep the large at $8 because they're not going to discount from there. That's the price they need, right? I want 90-minute and 2-hour sessions, right? So they're going to keep the large at $8. They're going to make the small $7. They're going to make the medium $7.50, and they're going to make the large $8. Which one are you going to choose then? Right? Without even selling, without doing anything, you're going to talk yourself up to the large. And I get free refills on the large? Why would I ever spend $7 on a small with no free refills? Even if I don't need a large, I'm buying the large. It's just $1 more. Right? So, like I said, where you price your sessions determines what people choose more. So you have to figure out, what do I want? Do I want shorter sessions? Do I want longer sessions? Right? You want to make your packages irresistible, but not unprofitable. And pricing them this way makes these things a no-brainer. I sell so many packages because of the way I set my prices, it doesn't make sense not to do them. It makes no sense to come at my regular rate. I used to be 130, right? I was at 130, and an even jump is $65. So 130, 195, an even jump $65, 260, right? There's an even jump every way. And when I did that, my prices, when I did that with my prices, most people booked the hour. A lot more people book the hour. I like 90-minute sessions or 2-hour sessions, right? And so instead, I know my rate is 110 per hour. My actual rate is 110 per hour. So as long as I'm above that, I'm good. Okay, so here's how my pricing flows now. My 1 hour is 150. My 2 hours, 200. My 1 hour is 150. My 90-minute is 200. My 2 hours, 250. Okay, so 150 for an hour. My 2 hours, my 90-minute is 200. That breaks down to $133 per hour. Still above my 110 rate. My 250 is 200. So they're incentivized to go up. Right? I want the longer sessions. It's 150 for the hour. It's only a $50 jump to the 90-minute. Okay? More people are doing the 90-minute and 2-hour sessions now. Almost nobody books the hour because it doesn't make any sense. Okay? So my hour is 150. My 90-minute breaks down to 133, so they get a better price for going there.